Hello everybody and welcome to episode 32 of Competitive Magic with the Carnies. I'm your host from Italy, Andrea Mengucci, and joining me today we have Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello everyone.
And Anthony Lee from Australia.
Hola.
Okay, Carnies, we're back to talk to you about what happened the past weekend, which is most notably the RC San Diego. I believe the tournament was huge, right? Was it 1,000 people or slightly less than that?
Very, very close. It was very, very close to 1,000 people. Yes, the high 900s.
Yeah, that's very good. So, basically the same number as the previous RC. I believe that the number hold for the Europe. I think the second RC was bigger than the first one, and I don't remember the numbers in America, but I think almost the same there.
Well, it was. I think people were even expecting it to be smaller because San Diego is a little bit more costly for a lot of people than the previous locations. So, in Atlanta, I believe. So it was good to see. Good to see that people were turning out to play the regional championship.
Yeah, and the winner, Joshua Willis on Rakdos Reanimator, defeated Isaac Sears in the final on another Rakdos Reanimator. So a lot of cool, interesting decks to talk about for sure over that tournament. What did you guys do? Let's get a little bit inside the Carnies podcast. What did you guys do this weekend? Did you celebrate Easter?
Do you even have Easter in Australia?
But we don't have an Easter bunny. We have an Easter koala, but it's more or less the same.
Koala? I will have guessed it's a kangaroo. I mean, wait. Is it really a koala or is when...
It's a koala. I mean, you can't use the kangaroo for everything. Australia has
Anthony again, though.
That Australia has more than one animal, right?
Yeah, for those of you who missed it in one of the previous podcasts, Anthony made me and Javier believe that instead of Santa Claus in Australia, they had a kangaroo giving gifts.
Well, I think it's a better idea. I think we should have it. I think Santa Claus is Washington. We should have a kangaroo. It's better. I think it's better if you believe this.
Okay, so do you have a koala that's the...
No, they don't. They don't.
I mean, they might, They have koalas and kangaroos.
I don't believe in...
Do you not believe in local customs, Mengu?
Yeah, I do. He doesn't.
No, but after you joked about the kangaroo, this is way too similar.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Maybe that's why he cannot be a joke. It has to be serious. The range is hard to define.
No, you're taking this as a poker player. This is not. This doesn't.
All right. I did not particularly celebrate the Easter, but I celebrate Magic playing the mocks where I failed to win a match, and I think I won one match in the Arena PTQ, so I played 2 mocks and the Arena qualifier. And yeah, I think I won one match combined in the 3 events. I'm not exactly going through my best upswing, but other than that, it was a relaxed weekend. So, but the cards didn't fall my way. Also, playing skill tournaments of 400 people is not exactly, my favorite format. But yeah, that's it. How about you, Anthony?
I just watched a lot of Magic. I watched my teammates playing a lot of Magic, and that was very enjoyable. So I was following the US RC the whole time since I felt somewhat invested in the results, and watched a bunch of people play the qualifier weekend and the mock showcase. There was a lot of content for me, so it was nice. Yeah. I believe obviously the US RC we'll talk about soon. The qualifier weekend was really rough. I watched 3 people lose at 6-1, which is really rough. You need to 7-1 to make it, so they all watch 3 people lose their win-ins. Very unfortunate. And the mock showcase as well, which is limited. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good weekend for me. Watching a lot, played a bit, obviously. Played some standard. Yeah.
Yeah, the standard testing definitely has to go as when is the Pro Tour? Is it in one? I guess it's less than a month from now. We're gonna have the new set drop in soon on Magic Online and an Arena, so it's gonna be a lot of draft. But for now, it's just standard without a set, which is always a little bit like scuff testing, basically.
Well, it's good to practice anyway, and I think I don't know, it's just good to play standard anyway. So
the standard aficionado, yes, that's Anthony.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk about the most important, I think, topic of the week, which is, I believe, Anthony, it's one of your teammates, the Mengucci Millennium is CFT Sock, and they finished first in Swiss and
Sorry?
then lose, unfortunately,
No,
the
I'm
quarterfinal.
I'm not teammates with CFT Sock,
Oh,
but
you're not?
I think they're definitely the
Okay.
story of the RC either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. This person just brought this crazy deck, which well, first I read the deck list and I failed to really understand it. Then I read in a long article that one of their team member posted on Twitter. I believe the Twitter name is Jason, and I link I'll link the guide in the show notes. And then I was like, okay, I'm not ready to explain this deck in what I do every week, which is the decks of the weekend. But then as I was going through it, I lost my train of thoughts. I didn't know what I was saying. I didn't know what exactly happened. So I'm like, all right, I need to play a league with this deck because, just reading the cards don't explain the cards. And yeah, basically, yeah, Anthony, just take it away, please. Ratadabrik of Urborg.
Yeah, so this is a combo deck. CFT Sock has always built interesting decks. They're very hard to follow. I remember knowing vaguely that they were a brewer, but they were in the same group helping out some of the players for Worlds last year. And wow, then I really got a look into their process, and it was wild. Like, I just had absolutely no idea what they were doing, but it was awesome. Like, just think of it like people they love these like crazy brews, but they're not really competitive players. Like the against the odds type sort of deck. But yeah, there was a lot of Vasu and Duplimancy sort of thing back then. But so I knew that CFT Sock was very much a brewer. But wow, this deck really took the cake. And we were aware of this deck that they had built before the RC, but we definitely didn't know if they were actually going to play it or how, and we definitely didn't expect them to go as deep as they did. So I guess the fundamental of this deck is that it has mostly good cards, but it also has a bunch of generically reasonable cards that can combine to go over the top of your opponent with a combo. So specifically, Ratadrabik of Urborg creates non-legendary copies of legendary creatures you control that die. There are a bunch of legendary creatures with dies triggers, and you can use Blade of Shared Souls to generate a lot of those. Specifically, you can use Blade of Shared Souls to create a copy of Achi, the Blazing Sky, and if you can loop those, you can make it so you spend 2 mana to get an Achi dies trigger, which leaves you upper mana, so you have infinite mana, and then you can generate the other side of Achi's death trigger, which is to flip cards from your library and play your deck. So there's obviously more to it. For example, there's a bunch of stuff you can do with the Blade of Shared Souls and the Dawn Sky. But yeah, that's there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. But the fundamental combo is Ratadrabik, Blade of Shared Souls, and Achi to generate a ton of all the mana and cards that you want.
Exactly. So there's this 3 cards combo, which is obviously expensive cards, but the deck is just a functional deck with Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Bloodtide Harvester, Corpse Upraiser. So you're just a mid-range deck that makes value. Like in my four match leagues that I played, I never comboed, but sometimes you just make value with Owl plus the Blade, which is like you just keep it on anything, like on a pilot token or on a Bloodtide Harvester. You copy Owl, and then you look at the top 7 card. You put whatever Corpse Upraiser into play or Atsushi, and just making value basically, and then your opponent just concedes.
That's the thing. Like here, we're not just trying to do something wild for the sake of doing something wild, which I think is really impressive. Because honestly, I don't think it's not the most difficult thing to just make a wacky deck and follow through a concept if you don't really care about how it does. But the fact that CFD Stock is doing this in a competitive context against people who are not trying to do that, who are just trying to win as much as possible, and they've figured out a different way to do it, that to me is the most impressive thing I think a deck builder can do. I really appreciate it when people tune lists very well, for example. So if you look at the Esper Legends deck that the Hooded Brawler group put together, that's like really impressive in terms of how they figured out all those numbers, and that's a kind of mastery I can appreciate. And other people prefer to see more clear examples of deck building creativity. But I really think CFD Stock kind of got best of both worlds here, where it's kind of the dream, right? They've just turned up with their completely wild brew and it's competitively legitimate, and they've managed to straddle that line between building a fundamentally good deck and a crazy brew. It's really a beautiful fusion to see. I don't know anyone who didn't see this deck and say, "Wow, this is art," you know. It's
Yeah,
art.
I saw on Twitter funny discussion. Like last week, we mentioned about the deck list, open deck list would stifle deck builders from bringing new decks,
Yeah,
right?
suck it, everybody.
And then
Somehow, yeah. I just want, yeah, yeah. Go on.
yeah,
just suck it. Yeah,
yeah,
you're wrong.
and like imagine if I sit down my RC with my stock Grixis deck and I play against this person. They handed me the deck list, a paper sheet of just names I've never seen before, like again, Ratadabric, Blade Shared Soul, Concealed Cortains, Atsushi. Like, okay, maybe I know Atsushi, but the other one, I would need to read them all on my phone, like in those 3 minutes. My brain would be
You
like,
read the cards,
what
and
are
then
you even trying to do?
You have to figure out how they fit
Yeah.
together. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way. So
And also, on
that's
top
a
of
great
that,
segue.
yeah.
Go on. Yeah.
On top of that, like you are not paying attention to the two main deck Destroy Evil and getting blown out because you were too
Yeah,
busy
just
to read
blind.
other things
Just
anyway.
bedazzled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Destroy Evil main deck was very good. I did not expect just so many important things to kill, so many important enchantments as well as 4 toughness creatures. Very good card, I think.
Yep. It happens to work very well against cards like, for example, one of the best ways for opponents to get around the dice triggers on the dragons is cards like Ossification. So, and Destroy Evil works very well against them. So there's a lot here that's been thought out quite well, I think. For example, this one Concealing Curtains probably looks really strange, right? But the reason is that they expect to get a lot of owl triggers, especially when they use Blade of Shared Souls to get extras, and it's a 1-drop you can put in alongside any of your 3-drops. So,
Yeah, it's also a cheap card to equip with the blade. Sometimes you're missing that. Like you have all these legends and you can't equip.
So there's like a lot of
That's very well thought.
Yeah, I really love like how this deck was built. It is monstrously complicated, so anyone who tries it should probably expect to have there's a learning curve that you'll have to get across. So do expect that. Definitely check out that guide.
So yeah, congrats to what's his name, Anthony?
Who?
Ryan? CFT Sock.
CFT Sock. Their name is Ray Zhang, and they prefer
their names.
gender neutral pronouns. So they.
Okay, sorry.
But yes, Ray Zhang. Yeah, is their name.
Ray Zhang. Okay, because it's always strange to refer to a nickname.
Really?
But it's okay.
I do it all the time. I've never called you Andrea in my entire life. And there's other people that.
Well, that's my surname. But it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Like lots of
We
people.
should start calling him Andre in protest. I'm gonna
Andrea.
call him
What about Talai?
Andrea.
Everybody,
Not
all
even-
the Spaniards call him Talai. People come up to me, they say, "Where is Talai?" And I say, "He's probably on siesta or something." You know, like they happens a lot of the time. Like, yeah.
Yeah. The second player of the Swiss that I believe also lost in the quarters, Tommy Ashton, also has an interesting take on the mid-range Blood-Tide Harvester plus Fable of the Mirror Breaker variant. So you have the Grixis mid-range, of course, and then there's this Rakdos deck. But this is not playing, because some Rakdos lists were very high on Razorlash Transmogrants, and this one is not. This one is, it's basically just Grixis, but, with Graveyard Trespasser over Corpse Appraiser and with just more removal spells over the counter spell. Very straightforward list, and they just had an amazing Swiss. They lost 2 games. It's so impressive.
You know the wildest thing. So Tommy was the one that you might have been thinking of, where we were in the same testing Discord. And it's actually kind of funny. So we had this a fairly large Discord for testing for the this round of regional championships across all 3 of them. That kind of spun off from our Pro Tour team, and we were excited to see whether this group or the other group that you might have noticed from this regional championship, who call themselves the Hooded Brawlers, they all played Esper, I believe. We wanted to see which group would do better, and they tied because we were going to count it based on the number of Pro Tour invitations won by each group, and then we tied because from our group, Tommy Ashton and Matt Sperling won invitations, and from the other group, Abe Corrigan and Austin Bursovich received invitations. So we thought, all right, the next way you count it is based on how many people were in the top 8, but then we were still tied at 1 each because both Abe and Tommy made top 8. And then we thought, all right, well, let's see who goes further in the top 8. And then they both lost their quarters, so still tied. But let's say we won because Tommy did not play a game 3 in all of the Swiss until he intentionally drew. He just won all of his matches 2-0, and then the loss he lost 0-2. Can you imagine playing like 11 rounds? You just never see a game 3. He's so efficient.
Yeah, loved it. And the deck list has a card that I've never seen him play, which is Archfiend of the Dross. So this is a 4-mana 6/6 flyer. It's huge. And it comes into play with 4 oil counter on it. And then it has the Massacre Vorm ability, where if your opponent creature dies, he loses 2 life. Like, I'm sure this card just kills them so quickly. I'm not even going to draw the down. I'm not gonna read the downside, like it never happens. I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the downside come up either, because it just does kill your opponent so quickly that like they have to remove it before it removes them, right? So it doesn't ever really come up. And of course, if it would, you do have some removal spells that can kill it in time. So a big reason that a couple of people from our Discord ended up playing this deck, Tommy and Jacob Nagro. And I think they did a great job with it. So a big part of them leaning towards Rakdos was just feeling that the blue spells were a lot less well positioned in this field, and playing a lot of basics was particularly attractive when more and more people were playing Razorlash Transmogrant. Yeah, I think Tommy had a really good plan for this event, so it's good to see him do very well. And I think, yeah, a lot of there was definitely a very strong push towards Rakdos and away from Grixis this weekend overall, and I think it did.
Yeah, Grixis was the 4th most popular deck,
right?
Which is not
and
very common for Grixis.
Was not very good.
I mean, the win percentage was fine, right? The good old 50%,
right? But I think
of Grixis, which is what you expect. Rakdos did better, yes. Yeah. Rakdos was more popular and did better.
And
so very good performance.
If you look at these top results, I mean, there's just a sea of Rakdos players qualifying, and Matt Sperling also on. I think Matt Sperling is the only person I see on Grixis who, you'll have to scroll quite a bit to get past Sperling on Grixis.
Yeah,
I mean, I think he might be the only person. He might have been the only person to qualify playing Grixis, unless I might be skipping one. Yeah. Wow.
The top 50 qualified, right?
That's correct. Normally it's 48, but there were 2 pass downs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
There's Daniel Weiser in number 35.
There's
Congrats,
Daniel. Yeah. Congrats for qualifying with Grixis, which feels like it was a handicap.
No.
It's funny as well because at the start of testing, Weiser felt that he thought that Rakdos was better than Grixis. So that's quite.
Yeah, Weiser seems to be playing a very similar list to to Sperling. No, it's not similar.
But of course there are some differences that people will have.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was great. Yeah, this was definitely a big story about Grixis. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of cool because at the start of the fight, people were thinking that Grixis was kind of the be all end all. It didn't really work out that way. Obviously, we have like completely wild things like the CFT sock deck, but also just like finding out that Rakdos was pretty valid as well. More than just pretty valid, I should say. Was good to see.
Well, overall, I think the takeaway from this top 50 is that mid-range is written everywhere. Because Esper Legends, sure, you can say it's an aggro deck, but obviously, it does play mono creatures, so it's kind of aggro, but it definitely has a slower time. But like the more traditional aggro deck that you might think, like Selesnya, Toxic, and Mono Red, are not at the top tables for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely some selection bias as well, because a lot of the very strong players in the field will tend towards the mid-range decks anyway. Like, so there is some reinforcing factor there. For example, if you look at the win rates of Esper, especially in day one, it was absolutely astronomical. Like, it looked like a completely absurd deck, but that's just because all of the best players in the room had grouped together and were playing Esper. So, like whatever they picked was going to do well.
But it's 1,000 people tournament, so I think that
these guys win a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but if it's like a 10 people group, it's like very, very small.
Yeah, they will filter out, but
well, it's still overall, 10 people out of 150, right? Like it's still a relevant percentage anyway.
For example, if you take my pairings at Naples, I played against so many various aggro decks. Like I played against two or three soldiers, two or three toxic, two or three mono red.
Okay, it's quite different.
And, so yeah, it's definitely different than the match game that I see here. So
Yeah, so the Selesnya Toxic was the next. That's a deck that had kind of disappeared for a little while, and really came back in a big way with Max McVitie, a big aggro fan. So this is quite diverse overall, I suppose, and a couple of killers on Esper Legends as well. Abe Corrigan, who was, as I mentioned, was part of that Hooded Brawlers group. They have a very well-tuned version of Esper Legends, particularly for the mirror. And I see Ken Takahama as well, who won the previous USRC. So it's very impressive to see that he did this one as well. He just monstered it. Like, he started out 10-0s. Yeah, wow, right?
Yeah,
I never heard of this guy before.
Amazing.
But now it's just like in Canada, isn't it? Like, I didn't know who Joseph Karani was before the Canadian RCs, and then this guy just started monstering them, and then same thing in the US. So
I believe
I like that.
in Europe we also had a player who top 8'd or even did better, I don't know, but definitely top 8'd both of Alberto Souza. Like, top 8ing back to back of these is definitely an achievement, which is kind of something that I am upset about, that there isn't a way to like just, I don't know, get points or at least get percentage of invites.
Why do they need an extra reward? It's already pretty good.
Yeah, I think they need an extra reward. Like, seeing, I don't know, like, it's an American tournament and you don't see the American participating, like the Reed Duke or whatever, Mike Sagers and stuff like that, because it's just a huge PTQ, you know what I mean? Like, obviously has a lot of money on the line, but just
Especially
something more than money.
Yeah.
I would love to see that in the next year of a competitive Magic.
Dinosaur.
Yeah, that's definitely some paper boomer talk there, Manku. I don't. There are certainly some of the very strong players from ages past back there. I mean, Matt Sperling, right? Tommy Ash,
I'm glad to see Matt.
These Andrew Backstrom, Austin Burst. They're not like. It's not like every player like Siggy didn't show up,
Matt Nass. Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I just wanted to see more. That's it.
Yeah.
But anyway, another deck that we haven't mentioned yet, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning. It's Mono White Midrange, because it was the third most popular deck.
Yep.
Mono White Control. It says midrange, so I guess the 10th player actually labeled their deck Mono White Control. I wonder if it skewed the results.
I don't know. Thank you, 10th player. You did your naming right. Thank you.
Is that the guy who intentionally drew himself out of top 8?
I don't know about that. If that's the case, I'm sorry, but yeah.
I mean, he had a very good weekend nonetheless. I don't know whether he knew he was doing that or what was going on, but that was my understanding of what happened. Hopefully I don't know whether, I mean, hopefully I'm correct in that, and I haven't said that he did when he didn't, but that's my understanding. But good show.
Yeah, so a bunch of Mono White control deck, one in the top 8, Nor Rabin, and then 10th and 11th also with it. So I would say that there is a balance in the metagame, as in, like, from a Rakdos versus midrange point of view. If you choose to go Rakdos, you have a worse matchup against Mono White than you do with Grixis, but at the same time, if you choose Rakdos, you probably have a better matchup against Esper. So you kind of have to choose your plan there a little bit.
I don't even know if that's particularly true. Like, I mean, I think the matchups are so flat anyway that it doesn't really make sense to like bounce between the decks based on trying to figure out where you are in the metagame, unless you're just so good that you can play any of them, which for some people will be the case, but certainly not many of them.
Rakdos mana base is much smoother, so I'm assuming that if you're playing against an aggro deck, you'd rather be with a deck with so many untap lands rather than
but
the classic
is really strong
Grixis mana base. Yeah, that's true. Of course, Corpse Appraise is much better than Trespasser.
So something that I think is kind of big as well. The last deck that we haven't mentioned in the top 8 is the Rakdos Reanimator deck, which
right.
And they were the finals was just both of them. So
yeah,
it's very much well worth noting, and it's cool as well because I think that was the eventual development of the standard format as well. Because there were definitely some rumblings that maybe this was the deck that was actually going to do the best this weekend, because everybody's minds were focused. Of course, I think Esper was probably the main deck that people were thinking about. And of course, Black-Red Midrange was still, like, either Rakdos or Grixis was, very big considerations for people. as well after Esper, but Reanimator was the one deck that I heard some people saying maybe this is actually the best one. I think I remember Karate Dom and Dominic Paulesio was saying that he thought Black Red Atraxa was the actual best deck for the weekend, and well, I guess he called it, right? It's quite, if the finals is just that deck as a mirror, it's quite striking, and it did overall very well. Yeah.
For sure. Overall, yes, main overall winning percentage of the 56 players that played Rakdos, but yeah, 2 finalists plus a 9th place and Andrew Backstrom in 14th place. There is a difference between the two versions.
Yes.
Andrew Backstrom version, and I think it's he for sure with Madness, they were playing with Capricious. Yes, they were playing with Capricious Hellraiser and the Eldrin Dragon War. Whereas the other two players had a very similar list to the one that one of our Patreon, Talisker, brought and his team brought at the Italian European RC, which is the more streamlined version of Rakdos.
Well, the one thing about this Andrew one is that it also plays one Atraxa. Like, it's relying on the creative geeks to do all the work, which also means way less. Atraxa is a million drop of color, so you often draw it when you cannot cast it. So it feels to me like this version is very interesting because they really went deep on trying to avoid these dead draws. I think that might be the way to go. I am not sure it's better, but I think that goal, like, because when you play Reanimator in Rakdos, you're like giving up stability for power, but maybe here they found a way to not give up that much stability, and I think that's to me the biggest take of that deck. You're playing one Atraxa, but it's still like being Reanimator.
Yeah, I think removing the non-functional draws while still keeping that ability to go over the top of other decks which is especially important against Mono White, I believe, which is a big part of why Reanimator was so successful. Like you mentioned, Mono White was very popular going into this event, and having that Reanimator package lets you trump that in a way that the other mid-range decks don't. I think as long as you still have that ability, I think you can sacrifice some of the ability to do it by having more functional draws against other decks. Because against Mono White, you have all the time in the world, right? Like, they're not going to put much pressure on you at any point. So I think this overall makes sense because the ability to play a normal game is like extremely important against decks like Esper and Grixis, whereas losing that explosiveness is less punishing against the one matchup you do want it. So yeah, I think this deck strikes a very good balance. I think out of the Reanimator, for that reason, I think out of these Reanimator decks, I like Matt Nass's version a bit better. But overall, I think it did turn out to be the case that this was the right angle for this tournament, specifically against that backdrop of Mono White being super popular.
One of the versions of Reanimator was also Grixis. I remember at our European RC, it was very popular, Grixis Reanimator. Nobody basically brought Rakdos, as I said. But this event, there were 20 Rakdos Reanimator that did very badly, and whereas Rakdos did very well. So if you're interested in playing some Atraxa and Cruelty of Geeks, Rakdos is the way to go.
Seems so.
Okay. Do you guys have anything else to say about this tournament or, Standard in particular? Do you want to talk a little bit about some new cards?
I want to say something about, then again, this format seems very balanced, as you say, but to me, like, there's still a big issue. We commented a little bit last week, but this weekend it was like there were 68 draws from Mono White, which is like out of 117 players, right? 117 players with 68 draws. That's, like a lot of draws for that many players. I'm just saying, that's not cool. And I'm pretty sure not every one of these players were like super slow or anything,
Yeah.
If everyone draws, it's not their fault. It's someone else's fault in that way.
That is a risk that people take when they play that deck. But I would hope that tournament organizers in general can try to adjust if possible. I do think this is a somewhat unusual circumstance in that it's quite as high. But I think in general with modern card design, it is more common for matches to go very long. So, I feel like across the world, 50 minutes is a common default. Maybe we can try to see if 55 works in a lot of places. That's not always logistically possible, but we gotta move with the times. you know?
Yeah, but like it's the format is very balanced. Whatever it is actually really balanced, but they're also like the number of draws is just super high. Like
Yeah, I think those things are connected, to be fair. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. The presence of mono white also makes all the other decks draw more.
It's fine.
But
We can
that's another
just
thing.
ban
Yeah.
some random white card for it's the new Sensei's Divining Top. It's fine. Sarah Paragon is banned for tournament logistics reasons.
Bye, Sarah Paragon. You had a good time. Yeah.
Not really
Same.
suggesting that is not serious.
The format looks great, like very balanced. Is there any banned cards in standard right now, or is it just good format?
I mean,
No
I think
changes.
it's just great. But I mean, I don't know if I can't remember off the top of my head if anything's banned. I don't think there is, but I think there's a
The
Meat Hook
Massacre?
Massacre. The Meat Hook Massacre. I
Yeah,
mean, who
the
cares
Meat
about
Hook
that?
Massacre.
That one, if that one was legal, it wouldn't change that much, honestly. But I think the format's great on pretty much every metric. Like if you look at all these RCs, there's been a huge variety of decks that have won. Like the format has developed every couple of weeks. The games are extremely like interesting. They're interactive. They're dynamic. Like I think this is one of the best formats I've ever played. Honestly, I loved it, and I think it's a success for lots of different people, right? Like I love it because I love to play like the grindy and interactive games. This is great for Wizards because they get to see so many different decks winning at RCs. It's great for people who enjoy like kind of wacky decks like CFT Stock coming in at the end of the day, being like, hey, look at this combo that you all missed out. There's some Atraxa stuff going on. I don't know. There's something for everyone here, and I really hope that we could have. I mean, I think standard is often good, but if it was always this good, I think we could really see it recovering to the position that it was at before. So yeah, it's just been fantastic. I haven't really heard much negativity about it in general, and lots of good words for it. The gameplay, especially.
Good job, Standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing. And so there is a new set coming out, as we mentioned. In paper,
really?
people are already opening. I already seeing people opening Ragavans in paper.
Great.
So this weekend there will be the paper pre-release. You can already purchase cards and play them at your tournaments on Friday, I believe. But whereas we're gonna have it online at the next week, so probably on Friday, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm very excited to open more Ragavans because I don't see enough of that card when I play Modern, so I'm very, very excited to see more.
Yeah, you can now see it with the masterpiece layout instead of a normal card
Yeah,
layout.
that will make me feel a lot better about it when my opponent plays it on turn one. I'm awesome. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to also mention that a lot of just my chat, my viewers and Twitter as well, people asked me if I was going to stream Standard, which is definitely something that has never happened recently. So yeah, that's a good thing. And
hopefully you listen
again,
to them because Standard is a format of the people, So I would like to see you produce some content there.
I'm actually thinking about it. I mean, I do play Standard Leagues on Magic Online, so.
Well, okay.
I
I mean,
because
yeah, just do that when you're streaming. It's so easy. You just do the thing you're already doing, but just hit the button that says stream. Just
yeah. So
perfect.
there's two problems with this. First problem is that Standard Leagues on Magic Online are not that popular. Mm-hmm. As in, there's that time waiting time is like 5 minutes sometimes.
Right. Play on a
There's still Wind Traders. I did play against the Wind Trader the other day on Mono Red. They just did like 25 minutes of nothing. But also, I think that most importantly, the viewers of Standard prefer to watch Arena.
Yes. All right, make some Arena content.
Yeah. No.
People have spoken, Mangu. If you love democracy, then you're gonna do it. I think.
I just Arena. Me and Arena took two different paths.
Bye,
We
Arena.
can get back together.
Yeah. So let's talk about these new cards. As I mentioned, outside of Ragavan and Lurrus, you can also open cards that are actually legal in Standard. Some of them, I honestly, I don't know why, but last week you guys mentioned Sheoldred and blah blah blah, and my mind just could not really focus. But I read it again later when I read the whole spoiler, and it's good. I don't know. I guess I just read it and I was like, wow, 5 mana Edict. That's not good. But 5 mana Edict
there's a lot of
in a
other
deck.
words. Yeah.
No. I mean, even if you ignore, of course, everything else is extra. But like the Edict, timed in a deck that already has a lot of removal spells, is very similar to the Eldest Reborn, which was a card that we played even multiple copies of in the past because the deck is like, full of removal spells, so you can time your removal spell to kill a relevant thing, and as well, of course, comes to play with a relevant ability, and everything else that's written on Shieldred is good. So like even just Edict effect on a 5-mana 4/5 body could be as good as a Shriek Maw, basically.
I think it's powerful. Yeah, I like that it has the highest floor out of all the Praetors. Like, if you don't get to flip any of them, then I think Shieldred's the closest one to being fine. So, yeah, good card, I guess.
Well, apparently Mengu was not here in the last episode, but I'm glad he is here now. The big thing about Shieldred is that it is actually an incredible follow-up against the opponent's Shieldreds. Like, if you play Shieldred for 4 mana, Shieldred Apocalypse, and you play this Shieldred, well, I'm not going to say the game's over, but it is pretty bad for them.
It's going to be... Like, that actually is going to be a little bit annoying, the naming.
It is.
If this card sees a lot of play.
It is, yeah, it is a Glorybringer effect, where, like if you play the 4-drop against a Glorybringer, the game will be over there. I mean, I'm not saying this card is Glorybringer, but if this card ends being playable, we're going to have a lot of these situations where, you cannot play this 4-drop or whatever. So this could happen. Obviously, it's hard to tell how good the card will be, but it has potential for that.
Oh, I was talking about the literal names of the cards. Just saying the name Shieldred is going to be incredibly confusing. I mean, also that Glorybringer effect is very much the case, but
for me,
it'd be interesting.
Yeah, what I thought was exactly what you mentioned. Shieldred into Shieldred is like when they play Teferi and you play the Eldest Reborn, and that happened. Like that happened a lot.
Very sad.
That happened a lot. Yeah, so this weekend I'll go to Berlin to do videos for Card Market. In one of the idea, I mean, I think I'm not spoiling anything, so whatever, is that I'm going to be playing Javier's Winning Worlds deck of 2018. So it has one copy of the Eldest Reborn in the sideboard. So hopefully I'll side it in and draw it. And
it
then
was
I'll
a good
like,
card for me in that tournament. I killed one Hazoret, if I remember correctly, in the finals.
Yeah.
So I good memories with the Reborn.
Wow. By the way, I was building the deck, and it's just so many two ofs. So many 2-ofs. There's so many busted red rare. Like Hazoret, the Phoenix.
Really we still refer to that year when we talk about the splitting when you have too many good cards for the slot. That year is where we actually learned to do this, I think.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, Chandra's better. No, just play 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Phoenix, Chandra, Hazoret, Glorybringer. We even played Karn. We even played Siege Gang in the sideboard.
Yeah, I never played that one though. It was Marcio's pet card for the tournament, but I never cast it, I think.
The options were very rich, yeah.
I actually like that. Like, there's something that I also kind of, liked in that format, and I have liked in all the formats, which is not really the case nowadays in this specific format, but it might be now with the new cards. Like, there aren't that many cards that fight for a slot. Like, no one fights with Harvester for Harvester slot, and no one fights with Fable for the Fable slot. Like, if you're gonna play one kind of card or Shieldred, you're gonna play Shieldred. It's not like there's 3 Shieldreds that fight for the same situation. I think that's actually kind of the building situation that's cool sometimes when it happens.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in that particular format, it's just because the red was just so overloaded. Like, they just pushed red really, really hard. It does happen a bit more with the mono white deck, with that's the color that's been pushed a little bit more lately. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's also just like, Shieldred is a bit different as well, because you just at the higher cost, you just don't have to play that card. Like, there's no particular number of 4-drops that you need to play. You might just not play as many 4-drops if the 4-drops are not good. But certainly at lower costs, we do see more of the same. I guess maybe if you need a lot of one type, then there is a bit. Like, for example, with Esper, after Danik, there's a lot more variation in terms of which 2-drops you play. So there is still
actually.
feature,
yeah, I think there is a lot of this. No, Esper actually has this tension, and like maybe also we'll have like this tension with Archangel Elspeth. Obviously, the bigger the format is, the more likely it's going to happen. So
that's very true.
Yeah, I think some of these cards are actually going to fight for the cards we have in the slots right now. So I think that's cool. And Shieldred also, like, you can say Shieldred is good against Shieldred. It's gonna suck, yeah. But Shieldred will fight, because this comes to me, because it will fight with Cruelty of Geeks and Invoke, right? Like, there is already like a little bit of tension in 5-drops with Cruelty also, with the command. So if this is like the 4th 5-drop in black, Now it's like, wow, which one do you play? You know, it's gonna be not easy.
Yeah, I love choosing. I don't
Yeah,
like it if all the decks.
yeah, and the Blade called Serpent. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Serpent is more like an X drop. Like it's not exactly the same. I think. I feel it's more like the over the top card. Like Blade Call Serpent, I think it fights more with Atraxa, but I think Shieldred fights for the spot on the curve with those cards. So I mean, hopefully it will create a situation where it's not clear which ones are better for every situation.
Seems good.
Yeah, one more card that costs a lot of mana that can be considered. It's not that bad. It's Chandra's. Is that Hope's Beacon? Because the picture covers the name. But
Yeah,
I think
strange.
It's
Hope's
Chandra
Beacon?
Hope's Beacon, yes.
yeah. Did you guys mention it last week? We didn't, right?
I'm not sure. There were so many cards.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
it was
this
not in
is-
the show. Also, maybe it was away.
This is a 6 mana planeswalker, which is obviously a lot. So we're gonna. It needs to be good, of course, to be playable. The static ability is quite strong. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you copy it and you choose different targets. So it's not bad. And then plus 2 mana, it adds 2 mana of any combination of colors. So this can do something similar to Chandra Torch of Defiance, of course, costing 2 more mana. It's huge. Where you cast it. You play Chandra, you plus 2, you get 2 mana, and you play like a Braid or Go for the Throat, and that's pretty good because you clean the board and you pass with your Planeswalker empty board.
Couldn't you
So
just do
in
the
that
same thing?
ideal case scenario,
You can just tick it down. It's not that you don't need to have another card. Just use the -X ability.
yeah, no. But if you remember, with Chandra Torch of Defiance, that was an amazing curve whenever that happened. But obviously, this costs 6, so it's much different. And then with plus 1, it's your card advantage engine, which is you exile the top 5 cards of your library until your next turn, you may cast an instant or sorcery. So you can cast, best case scenario, I don't know, Invoke, but also just more removal spells. And then with minus, you can deal damage to up to 2 targets. So it's, again, removal spell. So Chandra definitely, I think, is good in a deck that cares about removal spells, like a kind of a mid-range deck. I wouldn't think it's and that deck might be a Grixis or a Rakdos deck in current standard. What you guys think?
I don't know. I don't get this part where you have to kill. It is a removal spell. You don't have to tick up and copy and go for the threat. Just play this and minus kill 2 things and have a threat left over. That sounds awesome, right? Like,
Yeah, it seems to me like an Invoke, kind of. Like it's sort of an
Yeah.
Invoke. You pick 6, you kill 2 small creatures, and you have a card there.
Right.
I think it's
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
be
no,
a
I mean-
similar card to Invoke.
Yeah, I was just going for steps, but yeah, I understand.
I think that's a card we should compare this with. It's certainly not Elspeth Sun's Champion, which is a high bar. But I think that was the only 6 mana plus Walker that actually was an important player of the metagame. So I think you have to compare
yeah,
to that
probably,
because
yeah.
that was the only one. There seems some other 6 mana Walkers have in play, but no one was anything
Defining,
close to
yeah.
that. I think.
yeah.
Yeah. I think this could be sort of it's a mix between Blade Call Serpent and Invoke in a way. So it'd probably fight with Serpent, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I don't know how
Yes.
you guys feel about this.
Yeah, I mean, Rakdos doesn't play Serpent.
Yeah, this could be the Serpent for Rakdos. I mean, it has to be
you
good
can
with
play
Invoke.
you can play
that's for
Serpent
sure.
in Rakdos. Like, we tried it. It was we ended up not playing it, but it wasn't that far off.
I mean, you tap 9, bam, Chandra Invoke, double Invoke, bye-bye opponent.
Yeah, this.
What do you mean top 9?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's a good sequence, I'm saying.
Yeah. So overall, I think that this could be another card that fits the Rakdos deck together with Shieldred. Those are definitely 2 mythic rares that could fit that.
Yeah, I could see Chandra going somewhere else as well.
Archetype.
I don't know. I think this card is quite open-ended. It doesn't actually ask that much of you. Having to put instants and sorceries in your
Well,
deck.
6
is just,
mana.
Yeah, I don't know. 6 mana is just not. I mean, it's a high bar, but it's not. It's very far from an insurmountable one in standard. Most decks could.
I mean, you
conceivably
can't.
play one.
You don't. Yeah, but you don't put this in Mono Red Cyber, for example.
You
No, but
would,
you can sponsor this card with Fable of the Breaker, Like any Fable deck,
It's just
you
not.
can play this.
Yeah, it's just this card is not that restrictive. You need to be able to pay 6 mana, and you need to have instants and sorceries in your deck. So I could see it going in all kinds of maybe this is the card that enables a control deck or something. I think it has. I think it's very open ended. It could be a lot more than just the existing mid range decks. I wouldn't know what those particular things would be because that's the nature of an open ended card. But I do think it is. Yeah, it has those possibilities.
Then one last mythic rare I want to talk about that I don't think we mentioned in the last episode was Elish Norn.
Yeah.
This could fit, in my opinion, the Esper Legends deck, as you want to like differentiate the names of your deck to not have too many of the same name. This is a 4 mana 3/5 vigilance, and it says whenever a source an opponent control deals damage to you or a permanent you control, that source's control loses to life or pays one colorless. So this doesn't only stop an opponent from attacking you, but it is also in combat, right? So if your opponent just blocks your creatures or attacks you or things like that, they have to pay 2 life or one colorless. So I would say that that ability is quite good. Of course, dice to removal, but just like, Shieldred, the Apocalypse. And then it has the backside ability, which is maybe not the greatest because you have to pay 3 mana, sacrifice 3 creatures, but you get immediately 5 on the back. And then a lot of other words that I think it's I don't know how important it is to evaluate the card.
I mean, they will probably just kill your opponent. Like, realistically, like if you flip this, you should win the game. I think it's very hard to flip it because paying 3 mana and sacrificing 3 things at sorcery speed is, that's a very steep ask and has a lot of risk attached. But I imagine if you flip it, you should win because you make 5 2/2s and then the +1/+1 double strike until end of turn presumably kills them. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think if it doesn't, I would be surprised.
Not a big fan of this. I think there's a lot of bad things in this card. I mean, if the ability happens to be very good, which is it's an unique ability, right? Like I've never seen this ability on a card, I think.
Yeah.
So if this ability ends being like awesome, I mean, I can see this just wrecking a mirror match of Esper Legends or whatever. Like this could be a card there or something. But I can also see this card, you play it against like a Grixis deck, and it's not very good because the removal is like, go for the throat, so it's not good against removal. But then again, Shoulder is also not good against removal, so it's fine, sure. But then if you flip it, like you have 4 creatures to flip this, what if they play Invoke, Like you lose all your board. Like, I mean, you flip this, so you have like only 5 creatures or 2/2s, you lose 1, you lose the enchantment, and you have like 4 2/2s. I don't know, it doesn't seem like that good, It opens a weakness to cards like Invoke or even like Geek's Command or whatever. There's so much that could go wrong once you flip this.
I think it's very high risk.
High risk, and the word is not like, I don't think it's like a win the game. Like, it's good, but if you have like 5 creatures or 4 creatures or whatever, chances are your opponent also has like, an Appraiser and a Fable or an Abambuster.
That's true, yeah.
So it's not like you're automatically winning the game even the next turn. I mean, of course, it's if you flip it and everything survives, it's a good thing, but probably you're winning anyway if you have nothing. So I don't think this card is like good unless, again, the ability happens to be great, which it could be, but I think it will be about the ability, not about the flip.
Yeah.
The saga side
sense.
for me.
Yeah.
So the reason why I like this card is because as a Grixis player, as a Rakdos player, whenever I play against the Esper deck, sometimes I like Shieldred is a card that they cast it like later, right? When you basically just used your go for the throat on other things. And this is similar. Like, for example, Abe Corrigan list played 4 Shieldred. So you can do like 3/1, just do, in some cases where you already have a Shieldred in play and you also want to play another card, this could be it. Because what you do is, in my opinion, you play this pre-combat and then attack. And then your opponent cannot maybe do some double blocks, because if they do, they will take like 4 damage, or because I'm assuming they don't have spare mana. So I think that, and again, like the backside, dice to invoke, yes, everything. I didn't even mention as I said, the backside of it. Just its ability, I think, is very unique in a creature deck.
It is, but it has to be good. Like it has to be, and also I think saying it's better than Shieldred in many situations, those are big words because I don't think that's the case. Like even if they take 4 damage here, well, that's what Shieldred will take with a draw step and a blood token. So
but maybe they just untap and have a go for the throat in upkeep for Shieldred and deal 0 damage.
No, absolutely. There's a situation where it's going to be better, but I think overall, I'm not a believer at this point. I think it will be very good in a clash of creature decks or whatever. Like, of course, even if you play like a Toxic Mirror, I'm sure this is going to be good anyway. But it has to be like, the abilities is so strange.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool that they're still finding ways to make new abilities that we have difficulty assessing immediately. So it's cool. Yeah, I have no idea.
Back in the days, back in the days we would just say no ATB, no haste, unplayable, right? But I think
That's
that
what
at
we said
this
about
point,
Fjordred. That's what so many people said about
Exactly.
Fjordred we've learned.
exactly. So at this point, that argument is gone. So I'm trying to develop the abilities on the board state, which you might So I wanted to bring up this card because I think it's very unique and cool, and I think it might stay playing standard.
It might. I mean, it will see play in standard. Whether it's good or not enough to stay there, that's another thing. But it will surely see play.
Yeah.
It's also like a fine, it could be like a one-off filler in a legend deck or whatever. It's not like a bad card.
Yeah, I think like in order to evaluate these cards, just like the bottles, they have to be strong on the face. Like you don't have to think about the backside too much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think do you guys have anything else to talk about standard or March of the Machine wise?
I'm kind of excited to play the new cards. I think
I will say
we'll have fun time.
Okay, so obviously I can't talk about specifics, but I have played with the new cards some, and I have to say, I think people should get really excited because, I mean, for Exit Obi-Wan was not the most impactful set. I wasn't that excited during spoiler season, and it didn't change too much, right? Like the existing decks got updated a bit. I guess Atraxa was something new overall, but I think as far as standard stats go, for Exit Obi-Wan was not very impactful. But I feel like the new decks in March of the Machine, there are new decks, and I think they play very differently to decks that you have seen before. I think standard is going to be quite shaken up by March of the Machine, and I feel like people are really going to enjoy seeing the decks that do come out. So, yeah, I'm very excited about March of the Machine standard. But I think we won't be talking much about it going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like we did for the Pioneer Pro Tour, we are going to, after this episode, take a break from standard talk because we don't want to reveal not only our OP, you just don't want to damage the teammates and share.
Yeah, we have obligations to our testing team. Yes.
Exactly. So
keeping the content truthful. How do you say the word? Like so if you hear us, we're saying all we think. Just.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're trying to say. Just say the things that we believe. So we're just gonna avoid talking about it. But of course, once the PT Minneapolis is over, we're gonna go through all our testing process.
We'll uncover uncover all the secrets.
Yeah,
with
just like
the trophy, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, just like Javier did. Just like Javier did with his extensive guide about Pioneer, which, by the way, if you haven't checked, it's open, and it's the bonus episode that you can check a few weeks ago about Rakdos. So we can do that again with, our decks that we choose to play.
Yeah, also thanks to everyone that actually came to me and said, like, this was really good. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, we haven't... As always, I don't remember to shout out the Patreon that we have. So yeah, patreon.com/carnies. 3 new patrons this week. Theo, Coulter, Arthur. They're joining the Discord, talking about the various formats. I would say that the Discord is definitely popular about standard, modern, and the Pioneer, and this is why maybe we're focusing up more on those because, well, the people want to see this format. Apparently, Anthony, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm happy to do what the people want. Particularly, because it's also what I wanted to do. But I'm very grateful that they turned up and that they're participating. It's very good to see that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think. Wow. Yeah, I think we can share with our listeners what I talked about a little bit when we were discussing at the beginning, is that when we started the podcast, it was very much a casual, so I was enjoying the more casual formats and ignoring a bit more of the arena format / Pioneer. But now that Wizards brought back the Pro Tour, that I managed to requalify, of course I have to look again at the more competitive formats, and maybe we can take a little bit, we can take less looks at the more casual formats like Legacy and Pauper.
Focus is what I think you're trying to say, towards the more, we've always wanted to talk about competitive Magic, and even more so now, I think, because competitive Magic is increasingly centered on these 3 formats, Standard, Pioneer, and Modern, over Mengu's previous pet formats, I suppose. So,
Worry not, though, beloved listeners. I will still keep these two guys in check,
Yeah,
making sure
don't
we
worry.
talk about everything.
Javier is like 57 years old, so he's going to still want to talk
Yeah,
about.
I'm still a
old
casual
cards.
at heart.
Yeah.
Like, if something cool or strange happens, like this weekend, there was a player Legacy Challenge that was named Combo Man in capital letters, right? And you will never guess the deck they were playing. They were playing Oops All Spells. I
course.
find this extremely fitting, so I think it's worth, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Commenting.
I'm also always going to play Pauper. I'm also always going to play Legacy in paper. But maybe, sometime the listeners here might be more interested in a deep dive discussion about the more competitive formats.
That's
This is
definitely
what I
the
was
feedback that we're
saying.
getting. If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
feel very differently, of course, let Mengu know at Mengu09.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask you, Mengu. So, you were saying that you were casual before, so I guess you were previously, as they say, washed. And I suppose now you've received a bit more, even more competitive fire back. Would you say that you're now unwashed? Would you say that?
Qualifying for the Pro Tour is not easy, so I would say that that was a good,
Okay, so I
that
think
was
it's
a good
fair to say. I
achievement.
think it's fair. I think you agree that you're unwashed, right?
Yeah, the great standard Grexit brought me back.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Brought me back.
Standard brought Mengu back. That's
Yeah,
You love to see it.
That's
But
how good
no-
the standard is, though.
It's
Right?
an Easter
Nonetheless, legacy videos going up every week on Channel Fireball. Popper video go always up on my YouTube channel as well. So listeners, maybe you're already left at this point, but there is Mango Context. I still enjoy playing this format, especially in paper though, less so
course.
online.
Yes.
But, yeah,
Naturally.
Well,
yeah.
that's-
This weekend, yeah. Go ahead.
No, some question. Like, is there more or less initiative now in paper than online? I think it's
I
similar.
mean, I wouldn't know, but I would say that it's still a popular deck, but I wouldn't know. I mean, in paper, it was never that popular, at least at fourth season. Like the both times I went fourth season, initiative was not very popular, but people just still like to play Prankster and Days and Force whenever they play paper.
Legacy cards, classic.
Yeah. There's a team tournament. It's going to be Modern Legacy, and I'm the Legacy seat. So
Legacy, another legacy tournament. Yes.
yeah, for sure. All right, shall we talk about Modern?
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Fine.
Modern. I want to share this fun fact that happened. It was Easter lunch with my family. I received a call from a friend of mine, Usama, and he asked me if I could lend him the deck, as I often do when I don't play. I'm happy to lend Magic Online cards to my friends because it's very expensive cards, and not everybody can own them all. And I said yes, but I can't lend you. So he asked me about the Fables because he wanted to play Creativity. Sorry, he asked me about Creativity, and I said I can't because I have a league with Grixis. I can't lend you the Fables, but I can lend you Murktide, which happens to be a better deck. I told him, and he goes like, okay, so yeah, he took the Murktide deck, and he finished in the first place. So congrats, Usama.
Nice.
Very cool, very cool.
Best deck confirmed once again.
You forced him to play.
Yeah, there
that.
were-
Yeah, nice. That one.
Yeah, there were four. Yeah, there was. I mean, he played a lot of Murktide before and decent finishes, top 8 challenges here and there, but I don't think he ever won it, so that's cool. Top 8, there's 4 Murktide deck, and the finalist against Usama, Daniela Kos, won the following day with the same list, so he finished second and first.
That's
Amazing.
quite a weekend. Very good.
Yeah,
Love to see it.
yeah.
When I
Daniela-
talk about
yeah,
one card, one deck though, in that challenge, it's like a black-white Hammer Time Scam. Have you seen that one?
How do you combine these things? What?
Well,
So,
I love when decks combine, and this is Hammer Scam.
Yeah, Fit to Fitty, Scammer Time.
Scammer Time.
I played it today on stream, actually. I played it today on stream.
Was it good? I love how it
Yeah,
looked.
I started 4-0. I lost the mirror match, which not the Scammer Time mirror match. I lost to Azur's Hammer. I won game 1, and then I almost trophied with this deck.
Was it
So close.
I think I like the idea because the issue with Hammer is the Hammer is the type of deck where the top 20 cards of the deck, like the best 20 cards, are just completely sick. Like Sigarda Say, Dursa Saga, Hammer, Stormfront Mystic, Paladin, those cards are just like massive, right? The issue is Hammer's fillers, let's say they're not exactly top modern cards, like, Black Mist Skills or whatever. Ornithopter. Those cards are just like, I mean, of course, they make the deck better or whatever, but like they're not very good. But this is like, having the Grief, Statis, Malavit a Malakir Rebirth style of cards, I know maybe this is good. Like, I like this idea. I like what I see here.
Anthony, you know almost every card in Magic, but do you know what does Voyager stuff do?
Sorry? Which card?
Do you know what the card Voyager staff does?
Does
Do you
Original
mean
Ravnica.
Voyager stuff?
What's the Oracle
Voyager.
text of Voyager stuff? Because
Wow, I really have no idea. For a moment,
Anthony
I
knows.
thought you meant like the new card, like Staff of the Storyteller. Voyager?
No,
It's from
no.
the original Ravnica.
Oh, then
The
I have
original
no idea.
Ravnica.
Absolutely no idea.
Okay, so it's a 1 colorless card, so of course you pick it up with Saga, and for 2 mana, you sacrifice it, and it's like a Flicker Wisp. So
Oh, sure,
remove
exactly.
creature from the game and returns at the end of the turn. And the idea is that you can like go Solitude or Grief, and then blink it, and then, does the thing twice. And I also today happened to just blink my opponent creature after blocking a trample a card to remove it from combat and dealing lethal. So 2 times I got lethal with Voyager stuff today. So
Nice. I mean, it doesn't seem very. I mean, it doesn't seem great, but maybe.
also I removed Titan as well. They played Titan, they couldn't attack because I blinked it.
It combinates very well with Hallowed Moonlight. Just saying.
Right, no, I didn't think about it. That's
It
cool.
does. I mean, that might be actually one of the reasons why the card is here. The
Also,
Voyager stuff.
so if you read the deck list, there's a big nombo here. There's Sanctifier in deck in the sideboard and Grief in the main deck, but you actually end up like siding out Grief against Scam and Murktide. So playing against Scam and Murktide, I just side Grief out.
Okay. So you become hammered with Thoughtsis.
Yeah.
It's still
By the
good.
way, Thoughtsis was amazing for me. Like so much better than Blacksmith Skill or Spell Pierce.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
I could
the
go.
thing.
Yeah, I could go. I think a couple of times I did this. Thoughtsis turn 1, take out the removal, and then Stoneforge for Kaldra, and the Kaldra just won alone.
I mean, is there a chance like this deck is actually maybe you should be like hammered with Thoughtsis? Like maybe Thoughtsis is actually better now than Skill or Spell Pierce, because I thought these 2 cards are currently not exactly great. How the metagame is, they're awkward to use sometimes. But Thoughtsis there's never like a bad time to use a Thoughtsis. I mean,
Laplagian was playing Thoughtsis with Hammer Time with Thoughtsis, if you remember, with Lurrus at the beginning.
Yeah, it was like long ago. Yeah, exactly. It was
Yeah.
like 2 copies or something. So maybe now it's just. I'm just saying, like, there's a chance this deck is just good because Thoughtsis is good in the deck, and maybe Grief is like not that good because there's not that many black cards anyway. Like, again, if you scam them, it's great in this deck, obviously. But like, maybe just shoot Thoughtsis.
Yeah, I never really scammed, and Volskirch was pretty awful. So I don't know how much I believe in the Grief package, but it was just a meme league that, of course, I could also just very powerful deck with Crystal Paladin Hammer. So overall, this is exactly what I look for with my YouTube videos, which is a strong deck, but also, to engage with viewers in a fun way more than just playing Creativity and Murktide every time.
Absolutely, but I think this deck.
enough.
I mean, I don't know. I think this player might have something very good.
Yeah,
we'll see.
For sure. I mean, top 8 an 8-round Swiss challenge is definitely a decent achievement, I would say. Definitely not to underestimate.
Also, Tideholo's Color is a card that I could play. I guess it's a
Ooh,
black card.
Tideholo's Color.
Black card. It's also an artifact for Paladin. There's. I might.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'm gonna play Modern anytime soon much. But if I would, I might just take a look at this.
Yeah.
I think this
So-
person might be right.
I want to take this platform to talk a little bit more about Murktide because there is, again, a lot of successful lists this weekend. The one for my friend, Osama, he's very similar to, it's the same list that I played in Prague. And then there's another one in the 6th place by Dandy Bambino that's like Blood Moon main deck, but it's playing 4 DRC. Similar to Odaniakos, also playing 4 DRC. So, again, the ways you can play Murktide are so many ways, and it's so hard to say what's right or wrong at the moment. Reading the deck list that people play, I really like my list. I would suggest you to play my list, but other lists are also having success for sure. One thing I'm strong about is to play 2 Spellsnare. I think Spellsnare is very strong, and especially against Hammer Time, the mirror match in general, I like to play 2 Spellsnare, and I don't like Spell Pierce very much. So that's one of the things I'm strong about.
Well, I mean, you're the expert of the format. We will play a little bit of Modern, but you definitely have played a lot of Blood and Murktide. So I didn't like Spellsnare as much as you do, but I also think Spell Pierce is not great. So for me, I could actually agree with you, Snare being better than Pierce, and therefore being 2 Snares, 1 Pierce. But it will not be because I think Snare is good. It will be because I think Pierce sucks, which are completely different reasons. Like, I mean, even the conclusion is the same. My impression was like both of the 1-mana counters were like obviously great when you can catch them, but it's actually not that common that you cannot really catch them in a you know, in a situation where you want to, and therefore they kind of create an unstable instability situation. Like the deck is less stable because how unstable these cards naturally are. So I think that's a little bit of an issue with this deck. So that's why I think they're not great.
Yeah, I think the Spell Snare really helps the Hammer Time matchup. Like Hammer Time used to be a bad matchup for Murktide, and I think that once, I think it was Doom Switch. I don't know exactly who first put Spell Snare in the deck, and then I went up to 2. The matchup just became much better, and I don't remember exactly the last time I lost to Hammer Time. And if you see the top 8, then you would 0 spells their main deck lost to Happy Sandwich on Hammer, whereas
Uzama beat it. There is a difference between having a good matchup versus Hammer or not, because that sounds so implausible. I understand it's good, but that sounds very extreme.
It is really one of the best cards. It is really one of their best cards, though. Like,
yeah, I can imagine.
It's a little bit extreme. It is a little bit extreme, but it is really a big thing. Like because they also like because Mengucci has 1 snare over 1 but he has like 1 snare over 1 counterspell, for example. Because Mengu has 3 counterspell. Like the difference between counterspell and snare against Hammer is like the difference where you upgrade a funnel pushing Pioneer against Grisfang for a raining volley. Like it is huge or whatever. Like I think it is huge. I'm not saying like it turns a bad matchup into a good matchup, but I think it's a sideboard card on the main deck type of card usually.
Yeah, and 2 copies in the deck that plays like Bubble, DRC, Consider, so you draw it. Like even on turn 3 you can go like Spellsnare, Bolt, Heat. It's something like that. It's huge. So that is my biggest piece of advice. And then again, the deck lists are, can play Bloodman Make, can play Bloodman Side, and things like that. But Murktide is definitely here. Last week, Anthony, we titled the episode "The Demise of Murktide," and you don't know how many people messaged me saying, "Is Murktide dead? Should I sell my deck?" Things like that.
No, if you're not. That's absurd.
You're there. We just had a catchy title. I guess we can call this episode "The Resurrection of Murktide" or stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, but I still like. Ooh. Why is this deck still being called Murktide? Like, I could see like this deck just
being should just be called Blue Red Mid Range, and I would be much happier.
Yeah, Blue Red Like,
it's
already
it's the label,
and
it's the label. Yeah,
it's a strange label,
No, I think it's very stupid.
I think Ragavan,
a lot. I mean, they were calling it that at some point, and I think it's. I mean, I'm always very skeptical of this, but I would like to remind a lot of listeners that in general, a lot of these labels are pushed for reasons other than information. Other than information. We've certainly seen in the past a lot of things like people's. I mean, there used to be people would describe decks as Uro piles or whatever, which is just absolute nonsense. Like it's the opposite of descriptive. It causes you to focus on something other than what the deck actually is. That's about like.
I can tell you.
Right? Like it's the same thing. I can tell you why. Ragavan and that's why they were calling it, is it Ragavan, because it was something that people like to talk about. It gets clicks, whatever, but that's not really how you should think of the deck. And the same thing is true for this Murktide deck. Like it's easy to focus on specific cards, and a lot of people are going to, or perhaps various parties are going to push that because it helps them push a narrative, but take it with a grain of salt.
Actually, I can tell you about the story, because I think I made a big part of story in the Murktide deck. Mm-hmm. So when MH2 came out, there was the Lurrus decks, the Grixis Shadow with Lurrus, and there was also just Jeskai Lurrus, and they were not playing Murktide. And it was one of the person that said, no, you must play. So remember, Ledger Shredder was not legal, it was not printed. So I was just saying, no, you must play Murktide because it's very good. You should play Murktide over, Jeskai Lurrus. That was popular at the beginning. And then like later in December, Grixis Shadow came out again with Lurrus and, overshadowed Murktide for the few months until Lurrus got banned. But overall, I was just pushing to play Murktide, and I said that it was the best card in the deck, better than Ragavan, and because people called it Ragavan at the beginning, and I said no, you should call it Blue Red Murktide because that's the most important card and why you should sacrifice Lurrus in order to play this card. Now, of course, with Ledger Shredder, which is better than Murktide, people play Force Shredder and less Murktide because obviously that's the card you have to cut. So the name just carried on, but
I'm saying,
that's the story.
If we just named the deck something sensible to begin with, talking about the functionality of the deck, calling it, is it mid-range or blue-red mid-range, then we wouldn't have this fixation or this part where it eventually becomes deprecated because it's no longer relevant. Like, if we just called decks sensible things instead of going with names that content creators might want to push because it's, cooler or whatever, or shows off flashy.
Yeah, I was a content creator. I am a content creator.
I understand.
I had to push the name, as you
But
said.
then when we will talk about, then we can talk about like, yeah, this egg is called Murktide, but Murktide is actually like a filler, blah, 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 blah. It's good content also, Anthony. You have to see the bright side.
We can still talk about the deck in a sensible way without needing to do that, Javier. I think you know that.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so, I just want to say, like, I played quite a bit of Murktide recently, and yeah,
I hate so.
I slowly feel like Mengu's mostly right about most things, even though he's often like exaggerating a little bit, but I agree with the concepts and particularly with the results. So I will happily pick up Mengu's.
Yeah, I don't disagree with his concepts. I'm merely modulating his language. But
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I also agree. Like, Mengu says he will recommend this list, and I'm saying, like, yeah, I do too. So
I have no basis because I don't know. I have no idea, but it's
democracy. Yes.
Yeah, it seems like it makes sense.
Tools plus snare locked.
It seems like it makes sense.
One more deck to talk about because it's the other winner, Snow Schwartz. They won the Friday challenge with Asmorano Murktide Cadastro Coolder card deck.
Well,
I don't know how do you actually manage to say the name like nothing. That's good.
Yeah, I've been practicing a lot. And yeah, Glorious Vengeance, Emrakul, no Shieldred notably, which is usually you see Shieldred combined with Glorious Vengeance. A powerful card called Mausoleum Secrets, which I don't remember what it does.
It's like the tutor, right? Yeah. Tutor quality.
Central Library for a black card, committed mana cost.
Yep.
Also, you can tutor for Asmo.
Asmo for 2 mana,
yeah. Always, yeah.
Okay.
But you can say its full name, though. If you know how to use it, it's a waste to use Asmo. It's like a talent waste.
Yeah. Yeah, when MH2 came out, I learned the name, and once I learned one thing, it stays with me.
Nice, but you don't hate. Then you don't search for Asmo. I will say the name every single time I had a chance.
Yeah, on stream I do, and I got the opportunity to do it here. But anyway, Insolent Neonate, Voldar, and Epicure, crazy deck. Check it out for sure. Snow Schwartz. Congrats to you.
Nice.
I also like the mono black deck from the other challenge. Because I lost to that deck playing Murktide. I lost with a lot of spell snares in my hand.
No.
This mono black with 8 Field of Ruins, and I can tell you 8 Field of Ruins are a lot of Field of Ruins.
Wait, where is it?
Just like March and Invoke Despairs, and the 9 of April challenge, top 8.
Is it the Sunday challenge?
Yeah.
Oh, and, B. Okay,
yeah,
B. Yeah, B.
And I have lost. I don't know if this player, but I have lost to this deck with Murktide.
Yeah.
And I just got destroyed. I also think I have lost to it with Creativity. So
yeah, I've streamed with this deck. I went 4-1, so that's something.
I have lost to this deck twice, actually. Twice out of 2 times. So
yeah, they changed the sideboard. A straight 4 explosives for the rest. Okay.
Easy. They just also Field of Ruin all my lands with Creativity. I know this deck for like, oh, I'm just getting destroyed here. And I did get destroyed twice. So I'm saying like this deck, I don't know, it doesn't look very good, but then you say like, well, this deck is probably fine against Creativity because of Field of Ruins. It's not bad against Murktide because, it has like interaction and card advantage. It's maybe not very bad. This deck's,
Talker, Talker, because you Cyber Bloodman against this deck, but they have 9 swamps, so it's not that they stumble.
Yeah, no, they don't look like an stumble. Yeah, I wonder if there's like some better cards in terms of like the Profane Tutor slot. I don't know how good that card is. It doesn't seem great. Well,
the Profane Tutor lets you fix the Cabal Coffers plus Urborg very consistently.
Oh, that's true. That's really true. Yeah. Well, maybe I don't know. I just got destroyed, so I wanted to mention it. And I also like this kind of decks. I am a big fan of decks that disrupt the opponent and then just leave him without lands. Yes.
Yeah, I think there was a weekend where 2 of these made the top 8 of one single challenge. 2 mono black offers. That's when I played it. I think it was like a month ago at this point.
Maybe it's secretly a great deck. Huh?
Yeah, it's modern.
I would like to try it also. Modern is so awesome. Like I would like to try so many decks. It's great.
Yeah, one of the decks that I played this week that I was very excited about was the Upso spells that gets to play Unearth and Thassa's Oracle, and you have Memory's Journey to shuffle back Thassa's Oracle after milling your deck. It didn't do very well, but I was excited to play it.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Okay, we're running a little bit late. Do we want to talk about Pioneer quickly?
Well, we can just say what won the challenge because it's a good
Yeah,
deck.
sure.
Yeah, the Ready Bias won the Sunday Challenge with Atraxa Neoform, which I guess it's not a meme anymore. It's a very, very consistent deck, winning back-to-back challenges, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, we said the deck was after the mocks, like it looked like a real deck, whatever. Like at least like the other combo decks. And now it's just like, this confirms it. Like it's just a real deck. Like, that doesn't mean it's the best deck or anything. But no, in this top of the world, like also Greasefang. But it was also Lotus, two Greasefangs, one Lotus, one of these of this Neoform. It just keeps being like Pioneer is very combo based. Reminds me of the early stages of Modern. But this is just yet another combo deck for the format.
Yeah, but you haven't mentioned the 3 blue-white control in that top 8 though.
Again, yeah, like blue-white control. I mean, it's one of the best against combo decks, so it keeps being secretly a good deck. I probably should have played this last week in the Explorer metagame, like PTQ Arena, whatever, but I just didn't. I was not brave enough. Might try to, feel confident with control decks again because it's good for Pioneer for sure.
Apparently, the way to go is the lay down the arms version.
I'm not sure about that. I think there's trade-offs. Like I think lay down the arms is just probably a very good like against the mid-range decks or whatever against Black Red. But I also think this card is like particularly bad against all the combo decks, where something like a March of the Otherworldly Light is very good against the Greasefang decks. So there's also depends on the matchup. So I'm not sure which one is better. But I will not be like this week it was lay on the arms, but in the mocks it was like the non-lay down Jorian one. So there's no consensus, and I will not take away this as the the lay on the arms confirmed for me.
Yeah, because I remember last time we talked about Pioneer, the most popular version was Yorion, and now it's 60 cards. What about the historic PTQs? Because I remember there was historic qualifiers. Do you guys know what went 7-7?
No, it's Explorer. It was not historic.
Sorry. I meant to say
Explorer.
Explorer.
5-color deck, I think. Like the
Keruga?
Yeah, some Keruga, Keruga Incarnation, whatever deck did well.
Yeah, but it's bad against combo, I'm assuming.
I mean, I assume the Keruga deck, the Incarnation deck is trying to just don't care about Atraxa. Like, if there's, this deck can beat Atraxa, they also have, their own Atraxa, so they just can beat it, I think. So maybe that's why the deck is good. Like, the Fires of Information into Incarnation, this kind of stuff beats Atraxa. Also, you can use All Snow and Atraxa doesn't trigger, so you can just play your Atraxa, even Nation of Treachery. I think this deck is... I thought it would be bad because of the Notch into the Rocks or whatever, but now I think about it, maybe it was a good deck to play. The Incarnation without the into the Rocks is making Keruga essentially free. Yeah.
Keruga everywhere, Modern and Pioneer now.
Keruga is secretly the best companion left, maybe?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the only one that's... Yeah. Speaking of companion, are you guys excited to draft companion mechanic next week? Or rather, this weekend?
There'll be lots of cool cards.
Yeah, I mean, I think Limited is the only place where Companion is fine. So I think it's actually cool. Yeah, I think Companion is cool for Limited or Cube or whatever. I just think it's just bad for Constructed. But yeah, actually, I will... can I open a Keruga?
Yeah. You can open any
Keruga,
card.
Keruga fits my drafting style so well that I can just not... I can wait to draft it. Yeah, it's basically free Keruga. You have to cut 2 cards, from a limited decks. So yeah, basically it'll be Keruga. Please.
Yeah, I love the... It's so fun to draft under the companion circumstances. You can't take even cards, for example.
Overwatch. It's one of these streams where they go just only pick even cards. And you're
then you just open a bomb in your colors, but it costs 2 mana. You don't know what to do.
Yeah, you probably pick it, I guess. And then you just play the Overwatch as a card. The thing is, most of these cards are actually fun cards anyway. You play blue-white and you play Jorian, it's still a fine card. Same with Keruga. Keruga is cool art also. So, but yeah, I'm kind of excited to draft the new set. Let's hope it's better than the last one.
I haven't drafted the last one, so I will all ready for the new one.
Yeah,
very excited to dive into a draft format again after so long.
Yes.
Well, I mean, let's see how many rares. I mean, this last one, when you were playing sealed, you were playing like the Wandering Emperor constructed, pretty much. And draft was better, but most of our trio drafts in the house, they were like just placeholders. Like, I think that's not going to be the case this time, but we'll see. You know,
They have rare planeswalkers or not?
and not that I know in this one.
Okay.
There were, yeah, that's a good start. You know, like
Yeah, that's a good start.
Yeah, we
That's
just
a
never
very
know
good
with
start
draft.
because-
You know, everyone always has
Huh?
first impressions that never really work out. So I'm excited to see them actually play out. You know, it'll be cool.
Yeah, no, I think this limited might be good. We will see about it. Also,
There's
I think the battles are gonna be cool to battle with. I assume, like
There's
battles might just give interesting situations for
Yeah,
combat
sure.
attacks, blocks, and such.
There's a lot of these like multicolor rares, which like
Yeah,
all
they
the
are
combination legends.
But they're also like sometimes very hard to cast. Like, of course, if you
Yeah,
have Sulgan or
exactly.
Jutai, you're gonna lose. But that's a mythic. You know, like but some of the best ones seem to be mythic. And if they play, like Rankle and Torbran, it's still like it's double red, double black. You know, it's still like it's not the Wandering Emperor. You know, like those are expensive mana costs, most of them actually. And yeah, I mean, this might be a good draft. It's hard to tell
Yeah,
before
we
playing,
don't know. We have
but
no idea.
Course.
There's no point
no,
speculating.
of course. But I'm saying like I always miss when there's no Terramorphic Expense. I like this kind of cards, but
Sure.
oh, that this might be good. What's that? You don't like them, Anthony?
What?
Oh, there's Catering Surveyor.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good card. I like it. I also like this new art of the Surveyor.
Yeah.
It's a good card. Yeah.
All right, Carnies, are you guys ready to wrap up?
Yeah, sounds
We are
good.
ready to wrap up. Yeah, I think so. So bye bye Standard.
Perfect.
You had a good run, and yeah, let's
We'll
see
be back
what
later
we do
with
forward.
that, and we'll move on to Modern Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Modern Pioneer, and again, maybe, if you guys play a 5-year decides to play a Pauper challenge in top 8, we'll definitely talk about Pauper again.
I might one day. I've actually played this weekend. The Papa
yeah?
Challenge. I just went to two.
Did you?
I was too stressed. Like
Sweet
I won 2
What did you
rounds.
play?
Like I played like Tron, like the combo out of Tron.
Ooh.
It was so hard not to time out. Like I think I'm very fast, and I managed to not time out the game, so I was gonna win. But it was like with 2 minutes on the clock. Like I had to frantically just combo like super fast. It was super hard to not time out, and then just lost 2 games fast. Like I lost to Blue Black Terror of the Blue Black Terror or my Gangler deck.
Yeah.
And 2 failures or something like this, like in a very fast games. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be that stressed for the rest of the tournament. So I just dropped 2-2. But it was fun, the 4 matches I played, it was kind of fun. So yeah, I think this one is better on paper than in online.
Yeah, a friend of mine sent me a screenshot of you in the 5-0 how do you say whatever results in Pauper. Be like, is this Javier? And I said yes. Did he play Altertron in Pauper League? I said apparently he did. Yes.
Slander
I just
against
played
his character.
I played one league. I think I actually told you guys in the group. Like, I think I just want to say, like, yeah, I'm just gonna play one league with Pauper because this Paupergeddon. Because I saw the guy with the one Paupergeddon. I saw the tweet somewhere, and I was like, wow, this deck seems well built. That was my impression. I saw the deck, and it struck to me like it was well built. So I want to also, it seems like different. So I'm gonna try it. And I tried, and it was like, wow, this is powerful. I like it, And yeah, so I just played the league, and I FFO'd, and I was bored because I had busted the mocks. So yeah, I just did the challenge, and it was 2-2, but it could have been better. I like to play these formats once in a while.
RC, if you're Pauper listeners and quit mid episode, you miss some Pauper talk at the end.
Yeah, the format of the people were. Yeah, I mean, if you say
Was represented.
yeah, there's a 5-0 with me in Pauper. It's been a while. It's probably like, I'm gonna say like some years since I haven't played like a 5-0 league in Pauper. So it's quite an event. Right? They got me there.
You can never find Anthony's 5-0 though.
Yeah,
No, yeah.
definitely.
Anthony
Like, at least
drops.
1 year. Yeah.
Anthony drops
Secrecy,
at 4-0
yeah.
always.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheap.
I mean, I will tell my grandsons that I once I fought a league with Tron. It's the first time ever.
Why, you want them to disown you?
I mean, if they're my grandsons, they cannot disown me. I will be the one disowning them. Don't you think so? That's how
I'm not
things
sure.
work.
I don't think that's how that works. I think they can disown you. There's only one way to find
I don't
out.
like that.
Just one.
All right.
Is not to put you any pressure, but have people waiting for me to cube outside.
All right, and that's a good
we need
reason
to
to wrap it
Oh,
up.
okay.
You know,
We need
just
to
have
wrap
fun
up.
cubing. Yeah, that's you know, I can relate to that reason. So,
That's the mango reason, apparently. I'm not making it up, I swear.
well, thanks everyone for listening. Then,
Cheers,
I
yeah.
hope
Thanks for that.
you listen and had a good time. And see you around. See you. Bye bye.